Hi, everyone. Welcome. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous and excited all at the same time. My name is Jen Spencer, and I'm the co founder of Pause and Expand, a wellness company here in Toronto. And I'm so excited. Um, Today, I'm launching my very first episode of my new live show called Beneath the Surface. And I want to talk a little bit before I bring Josh on about why I started Beneath the Surface and what I've been noticing going on in the world around me. So, Beneath the Surface was created from this desire that I have to understand the interconnectedness of business and spirituality. And in the work that we do at Pause and Expand, we get to interact with a lot of really, really interesting people, CEOs, entrepreneurs, senior executives. And what's really powerful is I'm noticing this really interesting connection where I'm having these really, really powerful conversations with a lot of these entrepreneurs and CEOs about their connection to spirituality and the unknown. And so I'm on this quest now to understand how spirituality has directly influenced not only their mindsets, but also their path to success, because I think it's so powerful and so interconnected. And I also wanted to share with you the rules that I created for myself when I built the show. And the first rule is that I really want to show up as who I am and not who I think that people want me to be. And that's something I've struggled with a lot throughout my life. And to go on LinkedIn right now live is a really, really big step for me. So, very proud of myself today. And also just excited to show you more of who I am as a person. And that's what I'm going to try to do every time I come on live here. So, without further ado, my very first guest is Josh Zuniga. And Josh is someone that I just recently met. He's an entrepreneur, he's a real estate maven, he's an investor. And you're going to find out very quickly what I really appreciate about Josh. And it's his passion and his positivity for life. So, without further ado, let's welcome Josh to the show.
Good morning.
Josh,
Thank you
you're
so much for that
here.
beautiful intro. I love it. So excited to be here.
Hey, I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah.
I'm secretly wishing that we were in the same place somewhere in Sedona. Josh is from Phoenix, so we've spent some time in Sedona with our friends there, and it's, as you know, one of my favorite spots. But I'm picturing us there right now, somewhere on a hike. That's where I'm going to
Absolutely.
envision us being.
In our zen, for sure.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Well, I'm
Oh, it's
feeling
so nice. I'm seeing all these comments of everyone that's here. I can put them on the screen, which is awesome. Allison's here, Kat's here, Lauren's here. Awesome. So welcome, Josh. I'm so happy that you are my very first guest. I'm also grateful and honored that you trusted me enough to be my very first guest
I didn't even think twice. I was like,
on
let's
the
do it.
show. So what I'd love to do is just kick it off. Have you give us your 60-second elevator pitch on who Josh is? What do you do? How do you spend your time?
Okay. So this is why I told you guys exactly this. So as you said, real estate is something that I do. But real estate is my profession. People are my purpose. So I understood that from the very beginning, probably an early age, the age of 19, that I was put on this earth for a bigger purpose and a bigger reason. And that was to understand the love that was given to me, the love that is shared, and then how do I communicate that effectively with the world? What is my responsibility in showing that? And how do I do that with how I show up as an individual? What is my character? What is my presence? And what is the impression that I leave on the souls around me? Because when you leave an impression on the heart, that's everlasting. That is memorable. In real estate, you affect the pocketbook. That doesn't affect you, deep enough to the core. But when you touch somebody's heart, that is how you have true transformation.
Yes.
So my purpose is people, and God put me on this earth for a very beautiful reason. And it's to explore that every single day, every single year, and with every single person in conversation in order to find out and identify the true potential of how we can actually scale that for the greater good of humanity.
Wow.
So that was a pitch.
Well, the show's over, everyone. We're going home.
That was
Josh has told us all we need to know. It's a really interesting point that you're making, though, Josh, about this whole concept of being in our hearts more. And something that was really interesting about you and I when I first met you, and you had shared with me that other people felt this way as well, is when you first meet Josh, there's this interesting moment where you can't tell if he's a really good salesperson or he's the real deal, authentic, an incredible human being. And I, spoiler alert, will tell you he's the latter. He's an incredible human being. But I remember getting in the car after I met Josh with my friend Adrian and thinking to myself and saying to Adrian, what's going on with Josh? Like, what's his story? Because this person is so positive. He has such an incredible outlook on life. And I'm just confused how someone is that positive all the time. And so you had said to me that you get that a lot, right, Josh, in the day-to-day world that you're living in.
They think I'm a liar. Or like I would say that, yeah, you don't see it often. I know
Hmm.
everybody's a great person. I truly believe that you are born into this world, from love, and you have the extension of like what your environment is and how you grow and how you really develop. But like when you get, I guess you can say that's really like living like a childlike mind. But when you get older in life, and you get more mature ages, you start to see different like sides of people. And then like when you see somebody that's completely like vibrant, happy, and positive, you're like, whoa, it like kind of throws your psychology, in for a loop, right? But at the same time, you're very curious and you're very interested. It's like this person is on a different wavelength, and
Yeah.
I want to know, like you're saying, is it real or is it not? Because the way they see life and the way that they walk into a room and the way that they have presence and poise and the way that they just people gravitate to them, that is cool.
Yeah.
That is exciting. I used to see that as a child, with the adults, some of the adults around me. And I was like, I want what they have. How are they showing up in their life every single day in order to be this person? Right.
Mm.
So, going back to like, being positive and, being happy, that is a choice. That
Yeah.
is something I learned very early on, that, happiness is really a choice. Life happens to everybody,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, the ugly, through loss, through tragedy, you lose your job, whatever it may be. Right.
Yeah.
But it's from you and how you respond instead of react to that situation that's going to make you a better person on the flip side of it, right? So this is a
Mm.
situation that has for me, whether I just lost a family member or I lost a job or whatever it may be. But how am I going to respond? Because the event already happened.
Yeah.
It's already done. It's already over.
Yeah.
But now I need to choose to show up in a different way in order for me to overcome this obstacle with a positive way, with a path, with light, with energy, with love. And when you usually think in that mindset or in that that framework, things usually happen for you in a beautiful way that you didn't even realize before.
Mm.
Approach has changed. So
Yeah.
your approach to every situation is going to be a direct result of what the outcome is really going to be. So
Oh, there's so much goodness in here.
yeah,
Okay, so I want to go back to this concept of this notion that as humans, because we've been talking a lot about this in the Pause and Expand community as well, this notion that as humans we hold on to things. Why do you think that is? Like, why do we spend so much time holding on to things that are either out of our control, that are in the past, that are things that we maybe think we should have done, could have done, wanted to do better? And how has that concept for you helped you to stay positive? How has it really allowed you to do that?
yeah. Well, I think, first and foremost, I think we're realizing it now that as like this great awakening has really happened, that
Yeah.
we weren't giving much, um, insight on actually how to handle our emotions as
Mm,
even as children, right?
yeah.
And to say a big part of who you are is like from the age from where you're born all the way to you're 7 or 8 years old, like your subconscious programming. I think Dave Dispenza talks about this all the time. Your
Yeah.
subconscious programming and how you really are and who you are, how you're going to be into, adolescence, into adulthood, so on
Yeah.
and so forth, is this programming here. So I think, we need to do a better job at educating, ourselves and also educating our children on actually how to handle these emotions, because we know that life happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to drop you to your knees and it's going to keep you there, really.
Mm,
But if we are prepared to overcome these obstacles, emotionally,
yeah.
we actually have the correct mindset around it, because
Yeah.
you have to absorb it. And
Yeah.
sometimes things take, a couple days, couple weeks. For some people, it can be an extended period of time. But I don't honestly feel people really want to live in that space, right? They don't
Yeah.
want to live in sadness. Nobody wants to live in depression. If you could choose the other option, would you? Most of the time, people are yes.
Yeah.
But what are the steps? What is the habits? And what are the rituals that are going to shift my perspective, shift my mindset into actually see
Mm.
the beauty on the other side, right?
Mm.
Like you say, things always happen really for a reason. And I think people that are in a tough spot need to sometimes do a reflection of who they are and where their situation is. And the best way to actually understand really where you're at is, through gratitude.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much goodness in here. I
Yeah.
want to go back to the habits and the rituals that you have yourself. But before that, I want to just jump back a bit. I'm curious when you talk about these early influences, what was an experience or a moment for you where you really started to tap into this part of you, this part of you that has this mindset, that has the ability to actually see things from a different perspective? Because I think one of the things that's really unique about you, Josh, is that it's when you speak sometimes it's almost like, yeah, this is just the way it is, right? But the interesting thing is that most of us, I was just reading a stat and I was sharing with you yesterday before we got on this show together, the concept that each day we have 60,000 thoughts and 80% of those thoughts are negative. And
Mhm.
so the mindset of Josh is a different mindset than most people. And that's what I think makes you super unique. But going back to my question, I'm curious about um, a moment or an instance, if there was one moment or there was a series of moments in your early upbringing that helped you to develop this perspective. What would you say sort of was that moment or series of moments?
Well, I think I shared it with you. Like at the age of 19, I had a download, right? It was like an instant
Mm,
download. I had like a spiritual awakening, very early on. It's like, boom, I literally felt like I just woke up a completely different person. But previous
mm,
to this, I had one of my mentors, talking to me about what the law of attraction was. I think I was 18, when this concept really got, invited into my life. And I was like, that's freaking cool. I'm just gonna think about, being a millionaire and doing all the and having these cars and having a beautiful wife and all those things. And it's just gonna come to me. I might as well try it, right? And then the same mentor also gave me my first gratitude book.
mm,
The shift really started happening too. Not only do I want you to think about it, I want you to write it down. I want you to manifest this, every single day that you have. I was like, cool. And then I started creating the vision boards. I started thinking about it mentally. I started writing it down, putting all these concepts really in play to like shape my mindset.
mm,
But it wasn't until later on, I think another year later, where bam, like it was almost like a light bulb went off. Some people call it a Satori moment in Japanese, which means instant spiritual awakening. But I literally woke up a different human one day. And I was like super emotional and I felt super connected. And I just felt like so grateful for, the new day. I was given
mm,
another day today. Somebody wasn't given this opportunity, but I was.
mm,
I'm breathing, I'm living. This is how amazing is this? And I walk outside and I feel the breeze hit my face and I feel the sun, touch my skin. And I just close my eyes and I say, thank you.
mm,
Like this is amazing. Like what a gift, right? What a gift.
mm.
Life is a gift before life is good. You were given an opportunity today to wake up this morning, right?
Yeah.
And I started walking through life like that. And like going back to being emotional, I was crying at commercials. I was crying at the radio. I was just watching, a kid with his dad, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so beautiful!" And I was like, "This is crazy, but this is so amazing. I love how I see life now." But I
Mm,
learned very quickly that nobody else saw the world the way that I did. I was very lost for like a year or 2 years, and I think I even shared a story with you. So much so that my parents noticed something was different with me. We kind of got in, I don't want to say an argument, but a discussion in our kitchen. I was still living with them at the time, obviously. And, at the end of the conversation, I literally said to them, I was like, you have no idea who I am. And you guys know nothing about me.
mm,
And that struck a nerve with them. Like it really did. And he took me to dinner later that night and they sat me down and they said, son, what's going on? You're saying we don't know you. We've raised you for the last almost 20 years of your life. What are you doing? And I just started crying. I literally started crying in the booth. It was that elephant. I
Mm.
don't even know if those are still around. And I said, Dad, I have no idea what is going on, but I just feel so much love and so much appreciation and gratitude for the world. And I want to do great things. And I think God gave me this gift, for a certain reason. I don't really know what it is, but I just feel a certain way about life. And I just want to share it and communicate with it, but I don't know how to do it. And I'm just like all bottled up inside. I have nobody to talk to.
Mm.
Right. And he really didn't get it. But um, there was one book that was shared with me that kind of put things in perspective with me, and I think I shared that with you.
Oh,
That
yes.
I think that book was called Conversations with God by
Yes.
by Neil Donald Walsh. That book
Yeah.
changed my life in a
I'm
big
going to
way.
put a lineup for it so anyone if wants to look this book up. This is an incredible book. It is game changing.
Yeah. So this book found me. Well,
Yeah.
actually, a gentleman that I met, he said first time I met him, literally within the first 5 minutes, he's talking to the date that I was with, but he looks at me very intently and he says, "Have you read the book Conversations with God?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "You're ready for it." I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like,
Ooh.
"You're ready for it." And in my mind, I think I told you this. I was like, one, who are you? Two, what is this book? Three, I don't even read really. You're like, I feel like
And
too
it's a thick book. It's not a small book if you're planning to read it.
But he said that to me in a big way, and it's like I said, it meant something. I was like, and I actually went to coffee with him the week later, and he asked me if I got the book yet, and I said no. I was like, here he is a second time saying that I need to read this. Maybe I should listen to this man. Yeah, I come to know now that he's obviously very a spiritual person himself. His name was Sean Capera. I
Hmm.
went to Barnes and Nobles. I got the book, and I put it on my bed. And I actually went to the gym, came home, did homework, and got out of the shower. And I looked at the book again. It's like, you know what? I'm going to start reading it. By the end of the second chapter, I was in tears
Hmm.
because the person in the book was me asking the questions.
Oh.
I was having the conversation with God,
Hmm.
and He was answering all of my prayers. And He was giving me all the answers that I was seeking that I didn't understand for the last year or 2 years. And He was starting to just like, here's the world.
Yeah.
And He was putting it into perspective for me. I'm like, wow, this is it.
Yeah.
Now, and I understood there after reading that book that I needed to start finding my community.
Hmm.
I needed to start finding like minded people and surrounding myself to have these types of conversations, to have this type of awareness, to have this type of positivity. And I needed to change my circles. If I wanted to grow in this way, because this is what my heart said it needed and it wanted to expand and share it with people, I needed to go find this.
Hmm.
Right. So I started asking and I started having a lot of my mentors, a lot of the people I actually hung out with when I was younger, even until this day, are older than I am by like 20, 30 years. Why? Because when I was younger, I knew if I wanted to seek out wisdom, I needed to find people that actually had the
Well, you're
experience.
also an old soul, so it doesn't
That's it.
surprise me.
Yeah,
You're like you were
that's
probably 10 going on 30 at your when you were 10 years old.
yeah. But going back to another part of your question, like while I was going to experiencing all this, I knew that if I was going to stay this way or if I wanted to stay in this light, I needed to train my brain.
Hmm.
And you do that every single day by having the certain habits and rituals that are going to prime your experience for a happy life, a positive life, a grateful life, all of these things. So what are the things that you do every single day in order to challenge yourself to be this person that you decide to be every single
Yes.
morning when you wake up?
Yeah.
And that's part of like what I do as far as like making sure that I remain the Josh that I want to be, every
Yeah.
single day. Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is really powerful in that we can have these knowings inside of us, but then actually being able to create those habits that form into regular behaviors that just become like we don't even think twice about it. We just do it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things for me has been the pause and expand community. So, for those of you that don't know, a lot of the members actually I think are here right now. We run a daily meditation group Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. And what you talk about in community makes so much sense because I started that community with Steve and we were doing it in the pandemic. And what I ended up noticing is I was learning more about myself through the reflection of other people in the community. than I even realized was possible. So I would show up and share my truth about something that was going on with me, and then all of the sudden that would come back and someone would relate back to me and go, I relate to what you're saying, Jen. I've had that same experience, or I know what you might be going through because I've gone through something similar, or I have no idea what you're going through, but actually I feel a lot of compassion for you.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting what you say is like, once we get that connection to ourselves on a deeper level, then it doesn't actually matter anymore how old someone is, where they come from. Like nothing matters. It just feels like we're all deeply, deeply connected to one another on a level that is beyond even words sometimes. Don't you find that?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the key
Yeah.
things that you obviously learned there was learning to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and that's easier for women, and that's very hard for men.
Mm,
We aren't taught that. We aren't taught to
mm,
be vulnerable by any means. We aren't even taught to share our emotions. We're
mm.
taught to be callous, right? You're taught to, you know, be a man, stop crying, get up. You literally have no outlet or opportunity to even discuss, really how you feel. You're just supposed to suck it up,
Yeah.
right? So for being vulnerable as a man, which I came to be very early, I felt was a superpower.
Mm,
Because if I was to have the ability to become vulnerable and share my heart and share my feelings, it opens up the playing field for the person sitting across next to me, or the group that
mm.
we're in, or the community that we're sharing in. Why? Because that takes a lot of courage for a man or a woman to really share how they're truly feeling.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing, right? When you do that, you also empower everybody around you. Be like, ah, I had the same story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now you have this relatability that is becoming going around the room, and that's how you really get that deep connection. And especially like with relations, or even like with your spouse, I truly believe that I want to be here for men, to support them, to show them how to, one, have a better relationship with who they are, but then how to show up better for their marriage,
Yeah.
and show up better for the family, for their kids. Because when we have the ability to know love and express love in a beautiful way, the world is at your fingertips,
Yeah.
because now you have a higher understanding of like how to actually show up. And I think that's super powerful, especially when you're new to this and getting very comfortable being vulnerable and understanding that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Your heart is telling you that you need to, like, sometimes get this off of your chest, but it's not in a way that's going to, come back to you in a malicious way. It's there for you it's there to serve you.
Yeah.
Why? Because now the man across from you, or the women that you're speaking to, just gave you more connection. And our heart needs connection, and our heart wants community at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the point you make about men and the vulnerability of being able to show up as a man, I think is such a powerful opportunity. And also, I can only imagine how challenging that would be. Like, I know for Steve, the community that we run is 95% female right now. And Steve shows up every day in front of this group. And it's been such an opportunity for him as a man to be able to show his vulnerability and know that he can be safe doing it. And I've been noticing more and more that there's a lot of other men that are starting to come to, forward to Steve as a mentor, to be able to have him guide and coach and like help other men feel safe in these spaces. So, do you find that as well, that you end up becoming? I know we've talked a lot about the roles that you play in the lives of other men, but I'm curious how that shows up for you, maybe even in real estate and the work that you do in sharing more of your vulnerable self.
Yeah. It's I think God presents me with opportunities with a lot of individuals. I've helped
Mm,
a lot of people, even at a young age. At the age of 19, I noticed that, men and women had a very sense of comfortability with me, is about sharing their entire life. I'm like, I just met
mm.
and they just like they just spilled the beans, right? Hey, they just spilled the beans about everything, but they felt comfortable enough, in order to share that type of information. But I realized that was a gift, right? There's
Yeah.
something about my presence or my energy that allowed them to, be vulnerable with me. But it wasn't until probably, I would say, my mid 20s, that I started taking everything that I was learning and knew, and I started implementing it into other people's lives that I knew like really needed. And I
Mm.
helped, some individuals that had some tough spots that, have dealt with like depression. But all I did was like show up for them and gave them my different practices and habits and rituals and the way that I saw life. And I make sure that I show them a different way of living, and until it finally became second nature for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of individuals that come in across my path that I just kind of know how to, help them in a way,
Yeah.
but also give them a direction. And a lot of times it happens unconsciously. Like we're there talked about real estate, but me, I talk about real estate all the time, and I don't like talking about real estate anymore. So let's talk about something real, man. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your hobbies. Tell me about what's the meaning of life to you.
Yeah.
And then from there, you really get to pull back the layers of the human being and the individual, and you're like, oh wow. And then I finally ask, he's like, so, either about me or my experience, and it's like, so how can I change this? What is your advice?
Mm.
And we go from there, and we really, help it on. But because at the same time, just like with Steve
Yeah.
and with myself, there's not a lot of men that talk about this kind of stuff
Yeah.
or have the balls to even put it out there on social media, right? And
Yeah.
when you see a man speak in this way, or a man that talks, of this like spirituality or this awareness or this connection, a lot of men are like tuning in because you're saying they're like, is this guy
Totally.
real? Same thing, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're like, that they're speaking truth. You instantly know the human being is like speaking truth because it's talking to your heart right here.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of men and women have the opportunity to step up as leaders and share more of this common practice, right? So we
Yeah.
can all have an effect on, our community and our cities.
Well, I think that, that whole concept of, when you were sharing about how in real estate, you talk through real estate as the means to have a conversation with someone, but actually the conversation becomes about something totally different. I'm finding that more and more, especially in the work that we're doing with Pause and Expand, is you show up for a reason. Oh, I'm here to do a team building experience, or I'm here to support your team in slowing down. And as soon as someone shares something vulnerable about a personal experience they're going through, the whole conversation shifts. And it almost is like these businesses, these companies that we run are actually just invitations for us to connect with each other on a deeper level, right? They
Yeah,
just, when I was younger, it was my whole vision was, well, I need to be a certain age and I need to get to that point and I have to have this title. And I think as we continue to evolve in this way, especially as we start to have some of these conversations that are taking us a little bit deeper, it starts to make us realize like it doesn't actually matter what you're doing. It's about the conversations that are happening when you're in that experience. So you get to do this through real estate as sort of a container. I get to do it through wellness programming. But actually we're getting to have really, really cool conversations with people and connect on like much, much deeper levels, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful, and you can see it obviously with the people that you're speaking with and the corporations and organizations you're partnered with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of industries that are bringing this into as far as like their employees and their training, and obviously like this
Yes.
that you offer,
Yeah.
because they know there's value to it, right? I was
Yeah.
like, how do we make this a more beautiful experience for our employees? But it's not
Yeah.
just the employees; it's for like the greater good, because they know if you can show this person how to be happy, they're going to take that to the home, they're going to take that to the kids, and then they're going to come back vibrant, excited, enthusiastic about showing up for work.
Yeah.
You've actually given them a tool, for this. So, and real estate is one of those
Totally.
too. Real estate is really stressful. I had to put out 3 fires this morning before we got on the
Oh, I
call.
can only imagine.
That's why I had to do a little meditation before. Right? We bring the positive vibes. Right? But I think I think there's going to be a huge wave coming in, from here and on out, into the future with exactly what you're doing and exactly the kind of conversations that we're trying to have, with our audience and with our community, because it's necessary. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, the kind of stuff that we see that goes across the news and across social media, across the world. And like you said, right, 80%, just like you're saying, 80% of the conversation in your mind is negative. 80% of the information that you see on the news is most likely negative,
Totally.
right? So
Yeah.
what is your brain instantly going to do? So you have to learn how to take that down from 80% to 70 to 60 to 50 to
Yeah.
where it doesn't even bother you anymore, right?
Yeah.
Forget the news, focus on you and focus on your impact.
Yeah. It's so true. I'm just reading this comment from Lauren about it. It takes just one person to get vulnerable to open up a room. It's so true. And
Oh
Lauren's
yeah.
a coach, so she totally knows that mindset as well. Okay, so I want to ask you now about this whole concept of habits and rituals and things that we do. Walk us through, what does Josh do in the morning when he needs to get himself ready to go and have this incredible mindset and go change the world?
So I'm an early bird. I love getting up early. Honestly, I choose to get up early. If
Does
I can say
anyone like getting up early? I don't know. That
early,
could be a lie.
that'd be amazing. But I started doing. I actually learned meditation. I taught myself my own version of meditation. I think when I was 24, right? I saw Tony Robbins. He said, "If you can't give yourself 10 minutes of your time, you're full of shit." Right?
It's
And I
Tony
was like,
Robbins.
"Oh,"
Love
he
it.
just called me out, and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna start doing it." So I started doing the meditation, and then I went back to like my gratitude journal, and then I started reading, in the mornings at least 20 or 30 minutes. So I have it
Mm.
all right here. So there's one thing that I do every single morning. I wake up at 4:30, and then right
4:30.
away,
Wow.
4:30, yeah, 4:30, and then I have my little drink that I have. I hydrate at least 20 or 30 ounces, and then I put my headphones on, and I have this beautiful meditation music that I listen to that on Spotify that just like puts my mind and puts my heart into like that experience. It puts you like in a state of a trance where you like you just calm.
Mm.
Nothing else matters, right? I have one of these books. It's by Patrick Lindsay. It's called Making the Most of You, but it's really cool because
Oh,
it just
cool.
has these little passages of positivity in there. So I read two of them
Mm.
in the morning, and then I usually have my journal that I have here. It's called My Thoughts,
Love
right?
it.
And there's a specific way that I actually journal.
Is that leather bound?
I don't know, but it feels
It
kind of
looks
nice.
nice. I like it.
There's two ways that I kind of journal, right? I have one side is called gratitude now. What am I grateful for today in this very moment, right? And I always thank God for a new day, right? That's the
Mm.
first thing I'm thankful for. And then on the other side is called gratitude intentions. This is about manifestation. What am I thanking? What am I thanking the universe for? It hasn't happened yet, but I'm bringing it into my experience
Oh, I love that.
today, right?
Yeah.
And one of those things I used to write when I was younger was like, God, give me an effective way to communicate the love that you have running through my veins continuously and share it with the world.
Mm.
That's what I would always ask for. And and now I start reading, at least 20 or 30 minutes of a book. So this is one that I read when I was younger called The Motivation Manifesto. And this is an amazing book. If you guys haven't a chance to really, learn some motivation or get some inspiration about love and compassion, like choosing a declaration for your life,
Mm.
I highly recommend, that one too. So by that time, 4:30 to like 5:30, I have an hour of feeding my body, feeding my mind positivity and priming my experience for the actual day.
Mm.
When I leave that door, I know exactly the human being that I'm going to be. Right. And then as life comes at me, you can just kind of ninja it because you already know that you know exactly how to show up and respond in these
Yeah.
ways and in this fashion. A
Yeah.
part of that is also meditation.
Mm.
I like to at least meditate, at least 10 to 20 minutes. And then the way that I do it, because a lot of people getting into meditation have a trouble with, calming their mind.
Yeah.
They call it the monkey brain,
Yeah.
right? So I already know what I'm going to be doing that day. So in my mind, I go through my entire day. Boom, boom. Getting in the car, going in the gym, having that conversation with going to this meeting, doing lunch, everything, so I can get that out of the way. So you don't have anxiety about it. People have anxiety,
Mm.
and then I focus on maybe 1 to 3 things that I'm really trying to bring into my experience. If I'm saying I want to have a stronger relationship with my life, what does that feel like? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What are our conversations like? Are we holding hands? Are we kissing in the kitchen? Are we making breakfast together? Are we sitting and having coffee on the couch?
Mm.
Am I showing more emotion to her? Putting my whole body into that experience and really defining that. Yeah, so those are some of the rituals that I have.
That's
And it works
incredible.
out, it works out great. And I actually had a pause, for 6 months. And I even told my wife, I was like, I need to get back to my habits because I feel off, like completely
Mm.
off. And then I started again like last April, and I just show up as a better man, and that's all.
Yeah.
Especially for her, especially for my kids.
That's awesome. I think As I was listening to you, I was having this moment of my inner critic saying to me, "Well, there's no way you could do that, Jen, because you don't wake up early enough to have all this time to do all these things, to make all these rituals." But what really stuck with me about what you said is this whole idea of the gratitude journal, but actually framing it in that way of, and I would totally encourage anyone who's listening to this or later that listens to this, one side of the page, you've got your gratitudes, things you're grateful for right now. And the other side of the page, it's your future gratitudes of things that are already coming to you that you're feeling grateful for. And like that feels like an incredible way to just start yourself with the idea of possibility of knowing that what we already have is enough. It sort of seems to check all the boxes. So I'm going to commit right now in this moment to you, Josh, and anyone else who's watching this, that I'm going to try this for the rest of this week. I'm going to try it for the rest of the week.
Why don't you try it
And
for yeah,
the rest of what?
the rest of your life?
The rest of my life. Okay, let's start small, small
Yeah,
steps.
start with a week. Yeah. It's great
I,
because even just like what we were talking about, right? Like part of that gratitude intentions is manifestation. And you and I were
yes.
talking before this, you manifested this entire experience that we are living today.
Yeah.
The entire conversation was put up in here and it was felt here.
Yeah.
And here we are living it in our reality.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful.
Yeah. It's so true. I was telling Josh right before we came on and we were just making sure everything worked. Um, I have had this vision and taken these very, very small steps for the last year and a half. Steve's been on the journey with me and been an incredible supporter for me. But I've been on this journey of wanting to do something on my own, talk to really connected people, share more of my voice. And when I was driving here to do this show, the first one, I had this real moment of gratitude of, oh my gosh, that day and all those small days that I've been working towards getting to this thing that I didn't even really know what it was is here. It is literally May 16th. It's happening right now in this moment. And so I'm going to make sure that I write that in my gratitudes before I go to sleep tonight. So I appreciate you for that, Josh.
That's beautiful.
Um, we're almost at time. So I want to just give you a bit of space here to tell us a few of the things that you're doing that you're excited about, how we can find you. Yeah, I know you're working on a podcast that's just started. So tell us about that even.
Yeah. So being in real estate, and I think a lot of us get caught up in this. Like we have this this wonderful yearning to to help our world in a bigger way, right? A lot of us do, especially from like the spiritual community. And then you kind of figure out like, how am I really going to do that? Well, you have all these wonderful thoughts and ideas, but then a lot of time life gets in the way. And that's an excuse. And I have a lot of times real estate gets in the way because it's obviously very busy. I'm part owner of brokerage. We're in 5 different states. We have a lot of investments and properties that will go on. So it's always been heavy on my heart to get back into that spiritual space and actually share it more with my community. So back from 2016 to 2018, I think, one of the first ones that, especially within my real estate community, that I saw that was actually putting out videos like this, was actually talking about gratitude, was actually talking about my spiritual awakening, how I saw life and how I actually respond, with like emotion and love and compassion and vulnerability. So I know that I have a lot of wonderful partners now that are within the real estate space and outside of it that are also entrepreneurs that want to do this with me in addition to helping men, especially take off the veil, remove the filter, open up your heart, but actually just starting the conversation. One of those individuals, his name is Satch. He's actually in Miami.
Okay.
We have done some spiritual journeys, I'll call it. And we've had some really extensive growth from that. And now we're sharing exactly what that experience has been and exactly what we're doing now and how it actually translates into our life and into our work life. Podcast is going to be called Click, because when we were on the spiritual experience, I was asking him certain questions and I could see the light bulb go off in his head. So I was like, click. And it kind of came like a
Also the best snap. I cannot snap that way.
like
Mine doesn't sound like that.
an inside joke for us. Click. So we're going to call it the Click Hot Podcast, tapping into your spiritual growth.
I love it.
So we've already filmed it. He actually flew in. We filmed, I think the first, 4 or 5 episodes. He's going to fly back in. We're going to film another one. We're just doing editing right now. Then in additionally to that, I've already had conversations with, some other real estate partners and how we're actually, I think Steve actually, you and Steve are the one that brought this up. It's like, what's
Mm,
the community you're going to tap into? What is going to be your niche?
yeah.
And I'm partnering up with a lender who's of like mind and, aligned with my heart in a lot of ways. So we need to share this with other men, and also women, right? But we
Yeah.
really need to cater to men, because if we're able to crack them open, I think there's a big impact that we can have on a lot of other leaders here within the real estate space. And we're going to do some similar stuff with the podcast there as well, in order to share.
Amazing.
I think it's going to be really, really, really fun and really exciting. But the first, like with a lot of people that have this desire, the first step is always the hardest step,
Yeah.
right? And right now, you and I are on video, and that's usually the best outlet in order to have like a greater impact,
Yeah.
because one video can translate into 9 different platforms. But instead of having one conversation at a time, whether you're at lunch or at coffee, you can now have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands, even millions, because this is the type of information that needs to get out to the world. It needs to talk
Yeah.
to our men, our women, our kids, everything,
Yeah.
right? Because we know instinctually that within our heart, this is what we resonate, this is where we want to be, and this is the kind of conversations that we want to have. Like, let's open it up for ourselves. We're all,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're all family. You're my brother, you're my sister. I love you just because you're a human being, and we
Yeah.
breathe the same air together. So
Mm,
just opening that up and having more a start of where that is going to lead to other opportunities is where I'm excited to actually see it grow and develop. But there might be some other business ideas that can actually help other individuals that want to get their idea out there and kind of create a business in a box for them, is what we've been talking about. Like, a lot of people have
cool.
spiritual gifts,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't have like the marketing or branding or advertising mindset behind it, but they do
Yeah.
have a gift. So if we can show them how to use their gift, harness it, but also get it out to the public, then this world of positivity and love can be shared, in a greater way, and also empower a lot of people, to make a living in the same way. So, a couple
Very
things.
cool.
Yeah,
Just a few things in the works.
yeah. There's always,
After your big meditation you do every day.
always wheels
No
turning.
pressure, anyone that's listening. Just show up for yourself if you can.
Yeah,
Josh, thank you
absolutely.
so much for being here. Thanks for just being who you are. It's just such an honor to know you and to get to collaborate with you. And I'm so excited for all the people that get to experience the work that you do.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see what future collaborations we all come up with, because there's seeds being planted, and we don't know what they are yet, but I know they're going somewhere. So
Yeah, I'm super excited, and thank you to everybody that actually showed up today on
yes, thank you.
LinkedIn Live. We're super excited to have you, and go out there, open your heart, and share love with the world. I promise you.
Love it.
I promise you, it will change your life.
Amazing. Thanks, Josh. Bye,
All right.
everyone. Have a great day.